Okay. So just to recap a little bit on yesterday's meeting, we had like a little bit of a smaller meeting on Mother's Day, which is totally normal. But you guys, the content was banging, just so you guys know. What we talked about yesterday was so important. And he is kind of, Bethany, I'm reading your comment right now, and he is just hard to listen to. I feel like he's thinking too much about what he's saying, and I know that about him. And like, so I'm watching him think more than I'm listening to him talk, if that makes sense. Like, I know he's thinking about each word and wants to use them like perfectly, and I'm watching him think instead of just listening to him speak. And so yeah, I just think I have like a little bit of trouble with him as well. I think if honestly I was listening to it and not watching him would probably help me as well. Like if I just had him in earbuds and I was just listening to him while I was cleaning the house, I'd probably be a lot better. But I think it's the fact that I'm watching him and I can see that he's thinking, and so it's just a little distracting to me. So I'm like, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll just listen to him. But just to recap on yesterday's content, you guys, we just kind of went over. It couldn't have happened any more perfectly. The fact that yesterday was Mother's Day, and then our topic ended up being how important it is to really support other mothers. Like, I don't know if that's like the bottom line for those of you guys that were on it yesterday. Like, that's really what it came down to. Of just like, I kind of told a story about something that had happened to me, and then we just kind of talked our way through it of how, you know, how sad it kind of was that somebody would project their own like fears of themselves or their own anger of themselves and project it onto somebody else. But as you guys know of doing the work, it's so easy to pick those people out now, right? Like it's so easy to notice those people that are just hurting so bad that they just want to hurt other people, right? Or they just want to bring other people down because that's where they're at, is down. And now that you're up, or you've done at least some sort of personal development to where you're a little bit more aware of how that stuff works, you can pinpoint it very quickly. And instead of getting mad and instead of getting like spiteful or angry back, now we can actually be like, hey girl, you don't have to live in that. Like, actually, what if I just helped you get out of that? Rather than you shaming me or guilting me and us getting in an argument, I just say, hey, I see that you're like really hurting over there. Like, can we just stop that and just pull you in and save you and bring you back up to like the level I know you're supposed to be at? And so if you missed yesterday's, hands down, definitely go back and listen to it, because I think it was also in the moment, because I told the whole story. And then I kind of like explained how important it was to me, or how it affected me, I think. I think you just got to go back and watch it to really understand what all happened. So it's definitely a warrior hour to go back and watch. I don't know how many people actually go back and watch them, but if you were to ever click on one, I would say we rewatched yesterday's. But yeah, so hopefully we can keep moving forward and maybe just use that knowledge and use that stuff. And I was just telling the girls, I'm like, I need you guys. Like, I need all of you guys to help and reach down to the next woman in line, because they're hurting, right? Like, we've been there. Like, we have all been there where we've struggled, or, you know, regardless of whether you have kids or not. I feel like as a woman and you're getting older and in your 20s, I remember I was actually probably more confused before I got pregnant, and then pregnancy just like added on top of it. You know, like I was already saying that I was pretty like troubled. I was already in not a probably good place, and then I got pregnant and added a child on top of it, and so it really just put me into like a darker place. And so whether they have kids or not, whether you have kids or not, you might understand what it's like to be in a dark place regardless, right? Like, it doesn't take kids to put you in a dark place, right? Like, you could be in a dark place regardless of whether you have kids or not, but now kids can put you in a darker place, right? Like, for me, it put me in a darker place. Some people, complete opposite. Some people are in a dark place and they have kids and they find their purpose and they come out of it and they actually blossom becoming a mom. for me, I was kind of the opposite. I was already kind of troubled. I had kids, and I'm like, I'm already like so confused at what's happening in life. And then it was like, I wasn't even focusing on myself. I was only focusing on my child. But it's just kind of interesting, you guys, like every woman needs support, bottom line, regardless of whether they have kids, a husband, just out of college, in high school. My mom, 60 some years old, widow, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many spectrums, like there's so many different spots on the spectrum. And I just think regardless of wherever anybody is at, they need support. If they're a woman, they need support. That's the bottom line. And like, for me, I'm like, we just got to somehow find a way to provide it for them. That's why I always say I can't do this by myself, you guys. Like, I need you guys, like my army, you know, like we've got to find them everywhere, and reach out to them and grab them and pull them in and say, hey, got you, I got you, I got you, come here, you know, and just really start to help women, because if you listen to yesterday, you'll understand why it's so important. Because there are women out there hurting like we can't even imagine, you know, or maybe we can't imagine and we're not there anymore, or maybe we're still there, right? And so you definitely can imagine. Regardless of where you're at on the spectrum, you could still understand how hard it could be at some point in life, right? Like, I'm sure at some point in life, most of us have had some sort of issue somewhere, right? Whether it was like finding yourself in college, or finding yourself after a kid, or finding yourself in a new job, like wherever it is on the spectrum, like, you guys, there's times in our lives when we just need support. And I think that's got to come from other women. I really do. I think that's where it hands down has to come from, is from our fellow women. But I think sometimes us as women, it's hard to reach out sometimes too. Like, we get nervous. Are they going to get mad? Are they going to get angry? Are they going to, you know, push back? Yeah, probably, maybe. That's okay. You know, I keep doing it anyway. I keep checking on you anyway. And so I just want you guys to know that keep checking on people, keep pushing on people, like, I never feel bad for offering somebody health or happiness. Like, I don't ever feel bad about checking in with you and saying, hey, how are things going? You know, I don't feel bad. If they don't want to take my help, or if they want to be mean back to me, that's exactly about them, right? That has nothing to do with me and trying to help them. It has everything to do with where they're at and how they're perceiving it. So don't ever feel bad about checking in. Okay. So I just wanted to reiterate that, because I was thinking about it after we got off the call yesterday. I was like, man, like, that was a really good call. I was like, whew, we needed that. Like, I needed that. I needed to be reminded myself, and maybe just to even like inspire you guys to like watch out for that stuff, to like find that stuff and to look for it and to recognize it as a cry for help, not necessarily like, I think sometimes when we first look at somebody like attacking somebody, we're like, we want to get like super defensive. But in reality, they're probably the people that need the most help, because hurt people, right? Hurt people, hurt people. That's the bottom line. So anybody who was trying to hurt or backlash to somebody, they're probably the person hurting the most. So just sometimes if we can recognize that, we can pull out of our own ego, out of our, they're attacking me. Well, why are they attacking me? What about, are they seeing, why are they attacking me? You know what I mean? You can kind of take your own emotions out of it and be like, okay, well, let's analyze this. Let's see why this is even happening. Like, regardless of what she said, regardless of that, like, how can I work my way through it and maybe help her? Because obviously she's hurting. Okay. So enough about that, because I really want to watch this video, and you guys know how I get. If I just get talking, I just keep talking. So I really want to watch this video, so I'm going to stay on point today. I am going to screen share, and I'm going to pop you guys over to this Rachel Hollis video. So grab a notebook or a pen, so that way if you want to hear something, you want to take notes, and we'll talk about it when we get done. Like I said, I think it's only like 20 some minutes, so we should still have time to talk afterwards. Cool. All right, let me screen share. Okay.
Hey guys, it's Rachel here.
Oh.
And
Oh, come on. We're not doing that today. All right. Hold on 1 second. I didn't even think about my computer playing. What? Hold on. Let me try something else. Let me try my Wi-Fi. Guys, my hotspot and Wi-Fi are like going to be the death of me right now. I can't figure out which. Or that like it's been raining for the last 2 days, but I've had so many issues the last couple of days. It says I'm unstable, but let's see if it'll at least play it.
welcome to, I don't even know what week this is. I don't know why. That's terrible. I should know what week of the next 90-day challenge this is, but I don't. And this looks like a little different than the classes that I normally am teaching, because in real time, I'm just gonna be super honest, I do not have time to do my hair and makeup for you. I don't have time to sit down in the fancy camera. I am in my room, in between one project and another, and I was sort of stressing about wanting to make sure that I showed up well and taught you guys in the way that I want to do my very best for you as a teacher. And then I thought, there's I think some beauty in the truth of what this week looks like for me. And it ties in really beautifully to this week's theme in our journey, which is resilience. What does it look like to be resilient? And if I talk about resilience in my own life, it will explain why it is 11:22 and I am wearing basically a onesie. I look like I'm about to go like fly a jet plane with Goose. Please tell me you got that reference. But resilience for me looks like figuring it out and making it work. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about this week. So I have the definition of resilient, which is a person able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. A person able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. And man, that feels like where we're at right now. That feels like what we need, each and every one of us, is the ability to bounce back, to stand back up and go again. And what I think about when it comes to COVID and quarantine and where we all are is the difference between what resilience looked like for me 9 weeks ago and what resilience looks like today. And I'm going to assume that maybe you and I are on some similar paths, but if we're not in the same place, then maybe one of these applies to you. So resilience to me, 8-9 weeks ago, when all of this first started turning and we were going to have to go into quarantine and we were going to have to start working virtually and my business was threatened by what was happening, the ability to withstand the uncertainty and to recover quickly for me looked like pivoting fast. And we had to make some decisions as a company. We had to make some decisions as a family of things that we would let go of projects that we had to take a step back from. We were in the middle of looking for a bunch of different roles in our company. We had to put a pause on that. We had to get creative. That's where things like Rise Live and a virtual conference comes from. That's why we pushed up the launch of our Rise app, which wasn't supposed to come out until much later this year, but we pushed it up and made it work because we had to. Resilience looks like bouncing back, and you all have heard me talk about how seriously I take my role as a leader and the founder of this company and the CEO, and not just the ability to support my team, but also, like I have a house, I have bills, I have kids, I got grocery bills and gas, and just like you, there's things that I need to be able to do. And in order to be able to do them, I have to keep making money at my job. And my job was suddenly threatened by what was happening in the world, just like many of you. And not only was my job threatened, but gosh, my sense of self, my security, my not knowing, like all of these things were sort of swirling around in my brain, which is where the first part of the idea of resilience comes in, which is withstand. Can you withstand the pressure? Can you withstand the uncertainty? Like, is anyone else, sorry, this is an aside, but like, if I hear one more radio commercial talk about these uncertain times, it's just so uncertain. It's uncertain. Yeah, it is. It for sure is. Thank you for being the 10,000th person this week who has reminded me that these times are uncertain, right? The weird thing is, it's always been uncertain to some extent. Our lives have always, as much as we had the belief that we were in control and that we were certain of our future, it's actually always been uncertain. It's just now that uncertainty is kind of shoved in our face, which throws off everything, which begs you to ask the question of, can you withstand what is happening even when it's scary, even when you feel unsure? Can you withstand the pressure? It's why I just am going to go to my grave talking about this idea of 5 to thrive, and talking about, and it doesn't have to be if you're doing the challenge with us, you're doing your 5 things every day. But it's why I have those core principles of my life that I believe in, that I hold on to, because I think that they make me physically and mentally strong enough to withstand whatever is happening in the world around me. So that first week, resilience looked like withstanding. And it looked like bouncing back. It looked like coming back quickly. It looked like pivoting fast because I had to. Because I had a why that was so great and so powerful. I had this leverage of all of these people who are counting on me. I had to figure it out. And I had to do it as fast as possible. And it had to work. It had to, and it still has to. There's no end in sight for many of us. 30 million people unemployed right now in the US. And I'm sure if you're watching this in another country, you're experiencing similar situations where you are. There isn't necessarily an end in sight, which means that we have to keep on. We have to keep making sure that we're making smart decisions, that we're making good choices, that we're taking care of ourselves so we can take care of others. That's what it looks like to be resilient when you first go through something like this. I'm sorry, I'm distracted because there's like a wasp, and I'm like, is that wasp in my bedroom? I think he's outside. Okay. If I get attacked by a wasp right now, you're going to see me be resilient against a Texas wasp. So fingers crossed. It would make for a great clip on YouTube. Anyway, that's not the point. The second piece of sort of resilience that I think about now, and this is what I really want to dig in with you guys, this is what I really want to talk about this week, is our family is going into week 9. And in a million billion years, I never thought we would be in a place where we would be 9 weeks in quarantine. Can we sit with that for a minute? I had a call with one of my best friends, Rosie, this morning, and we were just talking about that. And we were talking about the fact that we have really good days and we have really good weeks, and then we have really hard weeks. And I think that's so normal right now, where you feel like everything, we're moving and we're grooving and we're doing it, and look at us, and we're growing tomatoes and the house is clean and whatever. And then maybe 2 days later, you have a full-on freak out because you're just like, enough. It messes with me. It messes with my head. And 95% of the time, I can make all the good choices and reach for positivity and reach for joy, but dang it, sometimes when I remember that it's been 9 weeks and that I don't know when it's going to stop, sometimes when my kids are crying because they understand but don't understand why they can't go play with their friends, sometimes when it's going to be my anniversary in a couple weeks and that anniversary is going to feel like every other day has felt for the 9 weeks before it. Sometimes when I miss my friends, I literally just want to hug them. I want to hug my friends and I can't. I feel discouraged. And that resilience, that ability to withstand, again, that little voice in the back of your head, or that higher power, or whatever it is that you believe in, that says, one more step, keep going. Stand back up again. It will get better. You will outlast this thing. You will still be here. You just have to stand up and go again. And so 9 weeks in, what I keep thinking resilience is what did you let go of 2 months ago that you need to pick back up? What did you allow this season to rob you of that you need to reclaim? So maybe for you, you've been robbed of joy and you need to fight to pull that back in. Maybe you gave up a dream. Maybe you're really excited about a job or a goal or a business you wanted to start, and COVID happened and the world went to hell in a handbasket, and you let go of it because you thought, oh, not the right time. What do you need to grab again? What do you need to reframe? What do you need to reach for despite what's happening? Because I think what resilience looks like for us, you guys, is that this is not going anywhere. I don't know. I don't know any answer except that I know it's not going away anytime soon. And if you keep letting your dreams die because the world doesn't feel like fertile ground for that dream, right? Like, think of it like this. Like, how many of us had these dreams and we're excited about different things? And I sort of imagine that dream for you as like this little like sapling, this little plant, this little seed that you were like ready to grow. And man, in the US, the economy had been good for so long and it just felt like you were ripe for opportunity. And this was the time. This was the time you were going to reclaim your life. This was the time that you were going to work on your marriage. This was the time that you were going to go back to school. This was the time you were going to start the business. And then all of a sudden it felt like the ground wasn't fertile anymore. It felt like that there was like this desert wasteland and it wouldn't hold your dream. It felt like the earth would no longer carry your dream. Like it all just sort of dried up, and so you grabbed your dream and you held it super close. Or maybe you just sort of shoved it down in your pocket and you're like, I'll pick that up again later. And what I want you to think about this week as we dig into this topic of resilience and how do you continue to show up is what does it look like to grab that seed again? And say, I'm going to find a way to plant this and grow this and allow this to germinate and allow this to become something. And maybe the plant that grows out of that, maybe the crop, is not at all what you thought it was going to be. But the act, I know I'm getting deep into this analogy, but just stick with me. The act of being able to just grow something right now is more powerful and important than what it is you're growing. Let me say it again. You being able to grow a dream, you being able to still believe, you being able to hold hope, you being able to cast a vision for your life despite the fact that you don't know what the future is, that is more important than what the dream is. It doesn't even matter. I was talking to a girlfriend about this. I'm like, just create. Just go create anything. This is a beautiful time to just create and figure it out. And maybe the dream gets to become something so much bigger and greater and more special than you ever thought it would be, because it was always supposed to grow in this way. What if you reaching for the dream now is what makes the dream what it was always meant to become? You holding on to that hope that you had for your life. And, it's like that old song, like you're hiding it under a bushel, you're hiding your light away. That's not going to serve you. And if you allow this thing to knock you down, okay, so then life gets better. And then it'll always be something else. And it'll be something else. And it'll be something else. There's always going to be a reason why you shouldn't reach for your version of more. Always. There will always be a fantastic excuse for why it doesn't make sense for you. Always. But y'all, if you can fight for your own enrichment, if you can fight for your ability to grow your dream right now, for the rest of your life, you're untouchable. for the rest of your life. Like if you can figure it out right now, nobody can stop you. Nobody can stop you. That's what resilience looks like. It looks like you showing up again. And maybe right now you're like, I already built the dream, Rachel. I worked hard. I spent years. I did this thing. And then this happened and everything's destroyed. It's back down to nothing. Okay. What, are you going to lay there and let it go? Are you just going to give up? Look, like, you're going to have to fight. I say this almost every week that I teach to you guys. If you are capable of hanging out for the next 6 months and watching Netflix, enjoy. But if you are watching this because you need someone to get in your face and tell you to keep going, I'm your girl. I don't have the choice to give up, and neither do you, or you wouldn't be here. I don't have that choice. And you know what? Even if I had the choice, I wouldn't want it. The worst thing, literally, like right now, I was just saying this to Dave, I have never been busier in my life. That's why I'm ill prepared to do this video for you in a way that's beautiful. I can't. I am on deadline for a book that I literally made up in quarantine. Like, I was supposed to have another book, and then my heart was like, no, I want to write about what's happening. I want to write for my community. I want to write about how to deal with this, which means I have to turn in a book a week from today, 1 week from today. Authors take 2 years to write a book. I am attempting the impossible. I am attempting to write a book in 5 weeks in the most insane, busy season my company has ever had. But it feels like the right choice. And I've been so busy, and it has been, oh my word, a lot. But the flip side of that, I said to Dave, I'm like, can you imagine being in this and not having a purpose? Let me say it again. Can you imagine being in this place right now and truly thinking that the only thing you need to do is chill out? I literally can't imagine it. What a waste. What a waste of, sorry. If you're a 17-year-old kid, great. Do whatever the heck you want to do right now. But if you are a grown-up with responsibilities and dreams in your heart and somewhere you want to go, do not waste this time. You telling yourself that you don't have the ability anymore, or you don't have the resources, find a way. Find a way. Like, honestly, like, where there is a will, there is a way. Everything, you can figure out everything, you guys. Do not buy into the myth that this is the end of you. Maybe this is the beginning. Maybe who you were before this, maybe everything needed to be stripped down. Maybe everything needed to fall away so that you could rise from these ashes into someone you were always meant to be. Maybe this was always the way it was supposed to go for you. Stop being pissed off about it. Stop mourning what you had. Stop, look. Oh my gosh, there is a season. There is a season. There's a season to grieve. There's a season to mourn. To everything, there is a season, right? It's a scripture in the Bible. It's a Beatles song. But if you know that that's not what this season's about for you, then you have to stand back up and keep going. And I can't tell you what that looks like for you. I can't tell you like, oh, I know how you can keep going. Use this time to go back to school. Use this time to volunteer. Use this time to write the book you keep talking about. That's not my job. That's your job. You have to figure out what resilience looks like to you. And maybe for some of you, resilience today is I'm going to show up as the best sister ever to my siblings, and I'm going to love on them, and I'm going to show up well. That's what resilience looks like for me today. Like, I was having a hard day, but I'm choosing to pour out love on other people. That's what resilience looks like for me today. I can't tell you what your version of resilience is, but I can tell you that it involves you withstanding and going again. That's what it is. This week on the podcast, I want you guys to know I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm going to do it this week. It'll be on Tuesday, so I want you to make sure that you listen. I did a podcast at the beginning of the year about casting your 2020 vision. And I'm going to do another podcast about casting your 2020 vision. And what does it look like to reimagine your future? What does it look like to think through what this new world is and how you show up in it? So that will be Tuesday. So if you're getting this on Monday, it will be tomorrow on the podcast. I want you guys to listen to it. And I'm going to challenge you to listen to it and to do the work and to figure it out and to start laying out a roadmap for yourself. My hunch is that the longer that we're inside of this, the more this is going to feel like limbo. The longer we're inside of this, the more and more this is going to feel like limbo. And the only way that we're going to feel centered again is if we create our own anchor. If we figure out what to anchor ourselves to. That's the only way. We can't rely on the outside world giving us an anchor anymore, because that's not a possibility. So let's dig in. Let's dig in on the podcast this week, and let's talk about what it looks like for you to recast your vision. And it can be something big and magnificent, and it can be something simple and purposeful. But I truly believe that we all need something to work toward. Something. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just something. And it's not about the goal. It's about who you become on the way to the goal. It's about having traction. It's about making progress. It's about moving forward. So challenge yourself to figure out what that looks like. And man, if you already know what that looks like, go. Do it. You need permission? Great. Here's your permission. You are capable. You are strong. You were meant to have this dream in your heart, which means you are capable of achieving it. Find a way. Because you sitting where you are, worrying and having anxiety and not knowing and staying stuck and not moving forward is not serving you. It's time to go. It's time to be resilient. It's time to stand back up and try again. All right, guys, I hope that these thoughts were helpful for you. I hope you will excuse the fact that my lashes, oh, bless, and no eyebrows, and just, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you know. I imagine that your nails and your lashes and everything look about the same that mine do right now. But if you're enjoying this, will you do me a favor? Will you post this on social? Will you tell people about it? We are, the amount of content that we've produced for this is phenomenal, and we still have about 8 weeks to go, and it's totally free. So I hope that you'll share it with your friends, and I hope that you will challenge yourself to ask what it looks like for you to be resilient in your own life. And now I'm going to go do workouts, because part of being resilient in our company was that we pushed the launch of our app up, and that means that I have to go be a fitness instructor. I know, it's crazy, but standing back up and going again sometimes looks like you doing things that you never imagined that you would do, because that's what it looks like to make your life and your dreams come to fruition. So y'all have a fantastic day, and until I see you next time, I love you, and I'm rooting for you.
Oh, that was a good one. Oh, how do I stop? Oh, stop sharing. All right. Whew. Good one, Rachel. I feel like that's like what we needed. Anybody else feel that? Like that is kind of like what we needed. All right. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about resilience. Let's talk about how we can apply it to ourselves, how we can maybe kind of hone in on it and take it and run with it, right? Okay, so obviously it's about resilience. The first thing I wrote down is that word pivot, you guys. So I don't say pivot, I always say plot twist. I'm more of like a plot twist, like, whoop, you know, like when you're watching a movie and all of a sudden that one person comes in and you're like, oh, it's the neighbor. Oh, plot twist, like, you know, like, sorry, I just watched I don't know, it's a show called The Strangers, or The Stranger. It's called The Stranger. It's on Netflix. There's only one season, but it was The Neighbor, just so you guys know. I'm sorry I ruined it for you if you tend to watch it, but I was so blown away. I was like, oh, it's The Neighbor. So I just think of it guys like that. It's like, sometimes you're just going to have to pivot. You're going to have to plot twist. You're going to have to key change. You're going to have to remix, like you're going to have to go the other way. Like, that's how I just like to look at it, you guys. Any way that you can think of, if it's just a surprise, like keep going, pivot, change, move, adjust. Okay. There will be a moment where you'll probably fight it at first. Stop doing that. That's not serving you anything, right? There may be a point where you want to mourn it, or you want to feel sorry for yourself, or you want to feel like a victim. Stop that and move on, right? Like, that's really what she's telling us, is like, stop that crap. Stop that victimizing. It's not doing you any purpose. It's not serving you any purpose in your life. So find a different way to focus on something else. And so I love the word like withstand. It's interesting though, because like, even when she was talking, I was like, oh, that's not my girls. I was just like, that's not, like, as she was like saying like, oh, you might be in a place, like you might just want to chill. And I'm like, dude, that's so not my girls though. Like, it was kind of cool to be like, that's not us. Did you guys feel that? Like a sense of like, oh, like, not that like she wasn't talking to me, because I still felt like she was talking to me in a sense, but I felt really good at the fact that like, we aren't just sitting and doing nothing. Like, we're doing the work. We're working through it. We're finding a way to stay focused. We're finding a way to continue moving forward. Even if you're looking at yourself going, oh, I don't think I am. I'm telling you, you are. Like, if you're here right now on a Monday after 7 weeks of this shit, you're doing the work, okay? Like, give yourself a little credit. You're still here, which means you're still moving forward, right? The ones that don't show up, the ones that stop showing up, the ones that are sitting on their couch or sleeping in, that's who she's talking to. But you're here doing the work. And that made me feel really good. Like, I was just like, hey, like, not that that's not us, but for a second, it kind of felt like it wasn't us, you know? I mean, there's probably more that we could do. I'm sure there's more that we could focus on. I'm sure we could dream a little bit bigger, and maybe we could achieve a little bit more. But in the other sense, I was like, I just feel really good about the fact that we are here doing the work every day. Like, we're showing up and putting the work in every single day. And that to me is like resilient as hell. Like, we are all resilient for still being here, right? Because we could have easily started falling off. We could have easily started canceling them every once in a while. We could have easily had it to where there were only 4 people, you know what I mean? But like, we've never really had to deal with that. Like, we've always had you guys showing up. We've always been here. And that in itself is showing resilience, right? Like, making it work regardless of however crazy it gets. We're making it work. We're showing up. We're being resilient. And I think we're withstanding all the freaking crap, right? Like, we're withstanding it. And congratulations. Like, sometimes recognize that, right? Like, give yourself a little bit of credit too sometimes of like, wow, we're still here doing this thing, like, all together. Like, we've got it. Like, and I think that the more that we do it now, it's just like this routine and this habit for us, you know? Like, I couldn't imagine at this point waking up and not being like instant warrior hour thinking, you know? It would be so weird to just be like, oh, we're just not doing that anymore. Like, it would seem very weird to me. I love the fact that she reminds us, you guys, and I notice this a lot. Like, you'll see people, they'll say, oh, when this is all over. And I'm like, it's never going to be all over. But bottom line, it's never just going to be all over, right? Like when 9/11 happened, even though they cleaned up the problem, you know, they cleaned up the towers, they cleaned up the mess, it was never just over, right? Like, we're never the same. America is never the same after 9/11. Now, we may cope with it better. We may not get emotional about it like maybe you did when when it first happened. It may not be as prevalent, but we never went back to the America we were before 9/11. Things were different. Airports were different. Security was different. things just changed, right? And we adjusted, and now they're our new normal, to where you kind of forget, oh yeah, I didn't even remember that you used to be able to just walk on an airplane with whatever you wanted. You know, you kind of forget that because now it's our new normal. There will be a time where this will be our new normal, but it's not going anywhere. This is your new life, right? Like, this is it. What if they never have events again? What if they never allow big arenas to fill packed basketball games? What if that's never a reality again, right? Like, we don't know. But you got to get through it. We got to, you know what I mean? We got to keep going. That doesn't mean that we just sit here. And that's what she's saying. Like, that's cool if you've just been sitting here doing nothing for the last 9 weeks because you think that this is just going to be over and then you're going to go back to your regular life. Well, just to let you know, you've been wasting this whole time because this is your life. This is your life. You're in it. This is not some like vacation where you just get to like come back and go back to the old you. This is just it. This is your new life. Accept it. This is where we're at, you guys. And we just got to keep moving forward. Like, you can't be waiting, sitting here going, okay, well, when I can do this and when things can go back to normal, then I'll get back into that. No, she's saying this is it. Because you have no idea when we're going to go back to normal. Because I'm here to tell you there will never be a back to normal. It's going to be a new normal. So why are we waiting? Why would you wait? You know, what's the point of waiting? Figure it out now. And so I just really liked that when she was like, no end in sight. There is no end in sight. Just stop looking for it. Stop looking for an end to COVID and just figure out a way to deal with it now. Regardless of when you think it is or is not going to be over. Who cares about when it's going to be over? I know it sucks, but when we stop focusing on when it's going to be over, then we can focus on what's going on right now. Okay? So I thought this was kind of cool. Like she said, like, find something to start focusing on. And it was interesting because just even yesterday, so Mike and I have talked about using our flight credit to go out to Tucson, which is where his aunt lives, because his grandpa passed away while like literally like 2 weeks into COVID-19 like lockdown. Mike's grandpa passed away, so we couldn't go there. They had like no funeral. It was like the weirdest situation. We just like couldn't be involved. We couldn't go there. It was like this really hard thing. Well, so then we kind of talked like, okay, well, let's go out when everything kind of lightens up. We'll fly out. He got cremated, so we'll get some of his ashes and maybe do some sort of like spreading or, you know, just something that you could kind of have like a little closure there. And then we talked about renting a vehicle and driving back and kind of like doing like a little middle America kind of little road trip. And we were talking about having his aunt come with us. And so I was messaging her last night, like, oh, look at this place. And she was like, oh, we should go down 10. I was like, no, I've been to Texas. Like, I don't want to go that way. Let's go middle America. I kind of want to do like forests and hiking and like stuff like that. And she was just like, so when are we doing this? And I was like, I have no idea. I was like, I have no idea. I just want to have it planned. I just want something to start planning. I just want to look forward to traveling again. I just want to look forward to coming to Arizona, regardless of when that is. I just want to know that eventually I'm going to do it. And when I can do it, the plans are set, you know, like the plan is already instilled. Like we already know where we're going to do all these stops. We already know where we're going to rent the stuff. We already know where we're going to do the camping. And then that way, when we can, we just purchase it and instill it. But it gave me hope of traveling again. It gave me hope of seeing Arizona someday, because I've never been there. And it really just made me, it was fun last night. I'm like looking at the maps on my computer and I'm like clicking on different campgrounds. I was looking for like wake parks along the way for Mike so we can make it a dual little trip. And like, it was fun, regardless of when we're going to be able to take that trip. It just made me feel very happy about the fact of focusing on it. right? Even if maybe it felt a little silly, because like, you know, it was like, when are we even going to be able to take this? Well, I don't know. I don't know. But when we can, we'll be ready. That's how I looked at it. And it made me, and so I just like the way that she kind of said that of like, you know, find a way to still create, find a way to still have something to look forward to, find a way to bring things into your life that still make you feel whole, which to me is traveling. You know, I would say that's probably the thing that has affected us the most with COVID is we didn't get to do any of our traveling. Honeymoon, gone. Trip for work, gone. Mike's trip for wakeboarding, gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like all those trips that we had were gone. That was probably my most devastating part about COVID was just not being able to travel. And so it felt good to me to be able to at least envision myself traveling in the future, to still be planning to travel in the future. And it kind of just brought a little sense to me of like feeling whole. And it felt good yesterday, just Googling and MapQuesting and doing all these little things. So you have to find a way that to still find those things. Okay. Maybe traveling isn't your thing. So maybe you're not going to sit here and look at a little vacation, but maybe something else is that you could start kind of still building, still creating, still finding a way to focus on it. Okay. Rather than, like she said, stuffing your dream into your pocket, pull it out and see where you can focus on it. Right. So like for me, I stuffed traveling into my pocket. I was like, well, see you later, traveling. Like, who knows when I'll pull you back out? Like, bye, you know? And I just said peace out to it. But then, like, it just reminded me, like, maybe I just have to find a different way to focus on it. Maybe I just have to find a different way to create with my traveling, right? So maybe I'm still creating, and then when we can, I can initiate that traveling. But it's all created already in the meantime. So find a way to still focus on that dream that you have, regardless of your current circumstances, right? Find a way, okay? Let's see if you can, oh, dude, this was my favorite part. If you can find a way to grow now, you guys, you're literally a freaking badass. You guys realize that, right? Like, if you can find a way to stay on top of your life now, you are a warrior. Like, you are a freaking warrior. And can you imagine how easy it's going to be when it's not in quarantine, right? Like, if you can control and get through this shit now, you can get through anything in life. I really believe that, you guys. Like, if you can stay on point now, it's going to be that much easier when things are like that. I really think that. And so, and you guys too, it's like, the more you focus on it now, the easier it's going to be to continue that too when things do lighten up, right? Because you've already created this healthy habit here. And so now you can just pick and choose what you want to bring back into your life and fit it into this lifestyle that you've been creating, right? Because the lifestyle you have right now might not be anything like the lifestyle you're used to living. Maybe you're not used to staying at home. You're used to going to work at a place or with people or something like that. And so this time has actually given you time at home to focus on yourself. And you're actually asking yourself, how am I going to continue this when I do have to go back to work? And maybe I'm not going to be able to be here at 8 a.m. on Warrior Hour because I'm going to be at work. I'm going to be teaching kids, or I'm going to be on the assembly line. You know what I mean? How am I going to make it work still? You know, and maybe you need to start planning for that now. You know, hey, when I go back to work, I need to make sure every night I watch the recording, or I just message Jenny and ask her what it was about, or whatever it was. Like, you might have to change as we continue going. So be flexible as well, you guys. Be ready for anything. That's how I feel. Because how could we have ever planned for this? You know, like, no one would have guessed this was going to happen. So to me, I'm like, who the hell knows what's going to happen next? Who knows, right? Like, But I'm just like, you know what? We'll figure it out. We'll freaking pivot. We'll just keep on trucking, you know, because we've come this far. We've made it this far. We're all still alive. We're all still here. We're all still smiling. Bring it on. What else you got? You know, like, that's how I feel. Is like, all right, that's cool. You want to do that? Keep on coming. Keep on coming. You know, and when you ask for it, you're not so scared about it, you guys. Bring it on. We're freaking strong. We're warriors. We can take on anything, and we're not scared of it, right? And when you just approach it like that, rather than being like, oh, I don't know what's happening next. Oh, I hope it's not going to get worse. Oh, okay, what if it does? What if it does? Are you going to go hide in a hole? No, right? You're going to show up to Warrior Hour again. So why approach it like that? Say, bring it on. You got more? Bring it on, COVID. I'm right here. I'm ready for you. I've been doing the work. I'm ready for you, right? Like, if you have the choice to approach it timidly or to approach it like a freaking warrior, I hope every single time you choose to approach it like a freaking warrior, right? What's the point of being timid? What's that doing for you? Nothing, okay? So approach it like a badass that you are, because you are. For real, guys, if you're still here after this many weeks, you are a freaking warrior, right? You gotta believe that, you guys. You gotta believe that. I know you guys are. You guys gotta believe it yourselves too, okay? And if you can get through now, you can get through anything. Just reiterating that, okay? So this is kind of interesting that she talked about re-recording a podcast of a 2020 vision. I don't see Tennille, but one time we had a coach meeting and Tennille had hosted our coach meeting, and she said something that just was like, hey, there you are. And she had said something that I was just like, duh, that makes so much sense. And I love it, and I've kept it in my head ever since. But so when we first started 2020, it was like, dude, this is going to be our year, right? Like 2020 is going to be our year. And then all of a sudden, like, COVID started coming in and just like destroying dreams and like ripping travels from us. And we were just like, well, we thought 2020 was going to be our year. Well, looks like 2021, here I come, you know? And it was like, we just literally threw our hands up to all of 2020 on month 2, like literally in February, March, we threw our hands up at the entire year. We were a fourth of the way through, and we threw our hands up to the entire year, which I thought, I did it too, you guys, I swear to God, I did it too, I know it. And I remember Tennille going, 2020 is still my year. So that's literally all she said. And I was just like, duh, yeah, it is. 2020 can hands down still be our year. Maybe it's not going to look like the vision we had originally, but 2020 still has so many possibilities. So many possibilities. We just got to get creative. We got to twist our goals, twist our vision, pivot a little bit, right? And create over here. And 2020 is still possibly your year. Maybe it wasn't my year for traveling, but maybe it's my year for mental growth like a freaking badass. To where when 2021 comes around, I can travel all I want. And I'm so headstrong that when I come home, I'm not all off because I was on vacation, because I got all my freaking mental issues worked out in 2020. Who knows? 2020 can still be your year, hands down. It could still be your year. What that year entails is up to you. Maybe it's your year for growth. You know? Maybe it wasn't your original vision of 2020, but it still has so much potential. You just got to believe that. And I think when we stop focusing on when is COVID going to be over? when we just stop worrying about when it's going to be over and just dealing with it and doing what we can with what we have, with what has been given to us, and just going with it regardless, who knows what 2020 has in store for us? Who knows? It's only May. You guys, there's so much time in this year. How dare we write it off? How dare we write off the entire year? You know? Not an option. So I think we need to really focus on those 2020 goals still. I think we need them in our face every day, you know? And so I really like that. She was just like, maybe you need to recast your vision for 2020, but that doesn't mean that you just get rid of your vision for 2020, okay? There's still so much you can do. There's still so much you could work on. It might not look like what you originally planned. That's okay. That's okay. You've been given the gift of time, which is what we all wished for in the beginning. If only I had more time to focus on my health. If only I had more time to be with my kids. If only I had more time to work out and create healthy meals. You are welcome. COVID-19 just came right in and gave you all the time you want. And you know, it's so funny. Like I saw like a meme that was like, and it made me laugh because it's so true. And it was like, turns out time isn't all I needed. Like, or it was like something like that. They were like, turns out time isn't all I needed to get my health in check, because they still weren't focusing on their health, regardless of sitting at home all day. They still weren't working out. You know, it's not the time you needed. It's the motivation. It's the habit. It's the routine. It's the drive. It's the inspiration. That's what you needed, you know? My mom always taught me when I was younger, she was like, you want something done? Find a busy person, because they're more than likely going to do it. Because yes, people say yes too often, usually. And so if you see someone that's always doing something and you ask them to do it, odds are they'll probably say yes. Because a person that's lazy or sitting at home, you ask them to do something and they're like, you know? And so my mom always told me, she was just like, you want something done? Ask a busy person, because they will say yes, because they always say yes. And so it's just kind of interesting, you guys. Like, I loved today. I thought today was really important. I think today is really good for a Monday. And just to remind us, like, regardless of how long COVID is going to be around, focus on your dreams and goals anyway. Focus on that vision anyway. Find a way to focus on what needs to be focused on and what you can. I think that sounds not easy enough, but I think that sounds like something we can do, right? Like, that sounds like, oh, I can do that. That's achievable. I can pull that dream back out and really start creating some travel plans to pull me through and give me something to look forward to. And that way, when we can plan it, I'm going to be so excited that I had all these plans and all this time to do all of this planning. And you know what? Maybe that trip will be 10 times better than any trip we were going to take right now. Who knows? You know? Who knows? You just never know. Okay, my favorite line, you guys, I know, but just who knows what's good or bad? Swear to God. Who knows? Who knows what's good or bad? Remind yourself that. This could be the worst trip ever. I could plan this whole freaking trip and it'd be like the worst trip ever. Who knows? Who knows what's good or bad? That's not going to stop me from planning it. It's not going to stop me from doing it. But you never know. So, like, whenever somebody's like, oh, I wouldn't do that, that's a bad idea. Well, how do you know? Could be the best idea. You know? I just say follow your heart, follow your dreams, follow your goals, and your intuition, okay? We all have that gut intuition, and I think that we ignore it all the time. We ignore our intuition. We know in our hearts, in our bodies, in our stomachs of what we're supposed to be doing, and we choose not to listen to it. And I don't think that's serving us any purpose, right? And so we just need to really channel ourselves and say, what do I need right now? Maybe it's not traveling plans, you know? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like creating with your kids. Who knows? But you gotta listen to yourself. You gotta kind of sit and ask yourself, like, what do I need in this time to help me continue moving through? Because what I need is not going to be what you need. But you can use it as inspiration. Be like, oh, okay, Jenny's focusing on traveling. Maybe I'll focus on still getting my work in, or maybe I'll still focus on checking in with my coworkers or something like that. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's not the same as what mine is. But the fact that you know that I'm focusing on something too can help you continue to focus on something. Like she said, I can't tell you what you need to focus on. That has to come from inside here. Because if I told you what to focus on, that's not coming from you. And so then you will easily let it go to the wayside. So it has to come from you. Okay. Oh, good work today, ladies. I feel good about that. Hopefully you guys do too. And hopefully you guys just remember that this is not going anywhere. It's not. You know, like I go to the grocery store, or not even the grocery store, went to the post office, you know, and they have these big old shields in between us and the person, and then you have to like stand back at a certain spot, and they've got each spot marked off down the aisle. There can only be 10 people in the lobby. That's not going anywhere. They're not going to go tomorrow and just take it all down and we all just go back to standing 2 inches from each other, right? That's not going to happen. Or even like I was even watching last night the Michael Jordan documentaries. I don't know if you guys are doing that, but there's this part where he's like walking down this tunnel and all these hands are just trying to touch Michael Jordan, right? I'm going to end on this story. And they're all like grabbing his shoulder and grabbing his arm. And I'm like, we're not going to live in a world like that anymore. Like you're not going to be able to just reach down and touch a professional basketball player anymore. You know, like you're never going to just like reach out and they're going to hit every person's hands as they're going in the tunnel anymore. That's not going to be a thing anymore. I don't think anyway. Because if I was a basketball player, I wouldn't want to touch 25 hands and then walk into my locker room. You know, times have changed. And the quicker that we just accept that, the quicker we can just move on and start adjusting. Okay? So, good timing. All right, ladies, I'm going to let you guys go on that. So hopefully, get the wheels turning. Get back to that dream, you guys. Get back to that vision. Find something to focus on. Stop just existing, okay, and surviving, and start thriving. Find a way to use this time to thrive, okay? All righty. I'm going to get a little quick picture, if you guys don't mind. I know a couple of girls dropped off already, but I forgot yesterday, and I always kind of like to. So, all right. Smile pretty. 1, 2, 3. Cute. Thank you, ladies. Alrighty, I hope you have a fantastic day. I will talk to you guys later. Message me if you need anything, okay? Bye.